everyone, and welcome to the program where everything is up for discussion. You got me, Jeff, alongside the lovely Shannon. Hello,
Howdy.
Shannon. As you notice, guys, we are in a brand new setting here, a brand new studio. We are now going to refer to this as the Mountaintop Studios, as it's now going to be favorably called.
No more barking of dogs.
No more barking at dogs. We've got a little change of scenery. We're test driving a few things tonight, guys, so we want you to bear with us, and we thank you for joining us. And we've got a lot to get to on this program. At times, Shannon, we've discussed just about everything on this program, but it seems there's always something left to discuss.
What might that be, husband?
Well, in the news today, Shannon, of course, everybody is talking about the train wreck that is now the Osbournes. I feel so bad for those guys.
Do you really?
Yeah, you know, it's been 30-something years with them, really, you know?
I think it's been more than that.
I think it's
old.
33 or 35 years or something. Yeah. So after all that time, I guess he was banging the hairdresser, right? Was he banging the hairdresser? Is that what happened?
That's what I had read. That celebrity hairstylist and Ozzy had an affair.
Oh, man. So you got to figure, like, after all the crap, all the crap that Ozzy's put Shannon through, right?
Yep.
The drugs, the relapses and all the stuff. And you got to think that there's been, like, gangbangers and what do you call them, groupies and stuff before. You got to figure they've all been there in the past. So the deal breaker is the hairdresser? Really? That's just,
How do you go from being with the same person for that many years and throwing it all away for one night stand?
I will tell you this.
Do you think this is for real? Because they've split before.
Well, they have split before, but I will tell you this. She is going to wreck him in court. Like, absolutely
She's making some pretty good money
him.
herself, though. I gotta admit. She's on The View. She's on, like, all these different shows.
She made him. I mean, you gotta admit that. Once Black Sabbath was done, once Randy Rhoads was out of the picture because he passed away, it was all Sharon. She made him.
But he's made
it.
now.
Well, yeah, he'll always be made. He'll always be the voice of Black Sabbath. So what the hell?
Well, he probably doesn't even recognize her anymore with all the plastic surgery she's had. He's posing nude on Twitter, just like the Kardashians.
What's
now.
up with that?
Maybe he just got tired of her. You never know.
I don't know.
You never know the real reason.
You never know. You never know what's really behind the scenes, do you?
I didn't want to see Sharon Osbourne naked. Nobody wants to see.
I don't think anybody did.
Nobody wants to see that. Sharon only wanted the world to see that, but that was too much for my bleeding eyes.
It was. And it's something you can't unsee. But we do want to remind everybody it is Cancer Awareness Month here, and we want to make everybody also aware that you should be getting your screenings, right? You got a screening coming up.
Should be. I do have a screening coming
Excellent.
up. Several.
Getting your major screenings.
From head to toe.
I am now hit the big 5-0, so I'm going to get the, we're going to get real up close and physical pretty soon with my colonoscopy.
Should have had it a long time ago.
Well, no, I'm just turning 50. What do you mean long time ago? Yeah, because I'm full of BS. Is that what you want to say? You're so cute. You're so cute. We've got a lot to get to tonight, guys. And later in the show, Shannon, we've got a very, very special guest that is going to be joining me here. She is probably pretty close to as famous, I would go to say, as Ozzy Osbourne.
Really?
She is used to reside in Westminster, Massachusetts. Now, who would you think would be residing in Westminster, Massachusetts, and could even be on the same playing field as far as fame with Ozzy Osbourne or somebody on a world stage?
I honest to God had no idea that anyone famous hailed from Westminster.
Well,
so
I will tell you she is now from Leominster, and I will tell you that she had her first press conference at a very, very young age, younger than you can even imagine, Shannon, if you can believe that. And she is Elisabeth Carr. She is the very first ever in the United States, the very first test tube baby.
Oh, from Westminster.
She was born in 1981.
Who knew?
Her parents at the time could not get it done in Massachusetts because of the laws there. So it was a very interesting go to get things situated. There's a long story there that we're going to get to. All that and more on Up for Discussion Live. Stick around. We've got that, and with the Who Does That as well. Up for Discussion Live right here on Leominster TV.
Up for Discussion with Jeff and Shannon Sylvia. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
And joining me in the studio now, she does a lot of things. We'll get to Central Mass Fit in a little bit. We're going to get to your career as an editor for both the Boston Globe and DailyBreak.com. But first, I want to go way, way, way back, like, if you will, figuratively and literally, if you will. I'm sitting here, ladies and gentlemen, with the very first ever test tube baby in America. Is that right?
That's right. That's me.
Wow. Wow. That's like, when I think of that, I think of like astronauts, like pioneering stuff. I mean, there's so much to talk about here. There are so many people that depended on you and your success, you know, from day one. I mean, and this created a lot of pressure for you. You and I have talked off the air about this, and right from day one, you were thrust into the media. You were the center of world attention. How was that, as far back as you can remember?
Yeah, no pressure at all.
No.
Yeah, I mean, talk about not only day one, but from 3 cells old. That was my first baby picture. It was 3 cells old.
Wow.
Nobody can say that. Nobody has 3 cells old baby photos.
Nobody cared about my 3-cell pictures. I'm sorry.
And you know, I always joke. You know, I have a son myself, and I know his first word, but I don't know my first word. I know my first headlines.
Wow.
Like, that's really freaky, you know? And it's why I hate the word cute. My first headline ever was, "She's a cutie."
She's a cutie. Well, not only that, I mean, there was, I'm sure, you know, moments where there was some uncertainties, because being the first of whatever, there's obviously a lot of things, a lot of scrutiny throughout the whole process. Backing up a little bit, your parents together decided to have you, artificially, if you will. And what brought them to this decision back then must have been extremely scary, because nobody had ever done it before.
Yeah, so I mean, the first IVF birth in the world was Louise Brown in England, and she was born in 78. So I was born in 81. So there's quite a bit of time there. Yeah. But my parents, you know, had been trying for a long time to have a family of their own. And my mom basically had something called 3 ectopic pregnancies, which means she could get pregnant and then her tubes would blow up. So she basically almost internally bled to death 3 times in a row. And so finally her doctor said, you know, this may never happen for you. This is a really bad idea.
Right.
So at one of her last appointments, her doctor had gone to this conference, and he kind of threw this brochure at her and said, "I don't know, they did this in England. They're thinking about trying it here. Why don't you check it out?" So so they checked it out, and you know, she was young, other than the fact that she had no tubes, and so she was kind of the perfect candidate, and they really had no idea what they were getting into.
Really? Now, where was this procedure done?
So IVF was actually illegal in Massachusetts when I was born.
It was.
So I was born in Virginia.
In Virginia. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were well traveled before you ever put on your first diaper.
That's right. Yeah, my mom and dad flew back and forth for months, until finally the last month they said, "You need to get a condo here so that we can make sure that nothing goes wrong." So,
you know, the stuff that you don't remember, obviously, you know, going way back then, and then obviously having it impacting you later in life. How about the stuff you can remember? What is your very first memory as a child?
So, well, you know, I don't necessarily remember it, but my first press conference was at 3 days old, and I was in a Nova documentary, so it's actually on the Nova documentary that all these photographers' cameras were lulling me to sleep, because it was just and then but I remember, you know, there's weird things. My 10th birthday, I was on Today and Good Morning America, and you know, one called, and then I had to go on the other one, and I didn't want to go on either one because I was 10, and I just wanted to have my birthday.
Really, just wanted to be a normal kid.
And I went to you know, my homecoming dance. I had a news crew follow me, so I was like both the most popular kid and most unpopular kid all at once, which was very strange.
Sure. Now, we've been lucky enough to know a bunch of child stars growing up, and it seems to be a common thread that we could probably put you in that category too. There's just a ton of pressure right out of the gate. You don't get to lead a life like a normal kid.
Right. So everybody, you know, it's funny because I was interviewed by this guy on Fox News once who was basically like, "Well, I walk down the street and everybody recognizes me, but you walk down the street and nobody recognizes you." But actually, in the grand scheme of things, everybody knows my title, and they expect me to be a certain way when they learn that title. And it's very strange. You know, I have people, random strangers, coming up and hugging me saying, "Thank you so much." And you know, on one hand, I really appreciate that, because they have gone through so much to have a child of their own, and I respect that, especially as a parent myself. But at the same time, like, I don't know this person, and it's really kind of awkward for them to like want something from me when they don't even know me. They just know this title.
Wow.
So that's, you know, it's hard to balance. And I have no idea when my son gets old enough what the hell I'm going to tell him.
Oh my goodness. Now, not to get too personal, but your child delivered normally, properly, everything's good?
That's right. Yeah,
Wow.
I didn't have any infertility problems.
Okay.
Really, my mom only had infertility problems because she had appendicitis and her appendix blew up. So everything else, that's why she was kind of the perfect candidate for this. Everything else was normal. But, you know, she just had scar tissue that kind of got in the way of things.
Okay. All right. Now, you know, getting back to like adolescent years now, as you grow up, there's a ton of pressure on you medically because, you know, people want to see how she react to this. You know, what's her immune system like? Does she get colds like everybody else? Does she break bones like everybody else? I mean, you know, that enormous pressure on you. How did that feel as a kid growing up and you know, I guess getting into high school and then college and then all that? How did that affect you as a human being?
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard, and I don't think that that's something that people think about because people, you know, everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame, right?
Sure,
it's really cool, and
I think it's great.
Yeah, and for a hot second, it is really cool, and then, you know, it kind of follows you. So like in college, I was in the grocery store with my roommate. We didn't want to eat at the dining hall. We wanted to have dinner. And so we're like looking at mac and cheese. So I'm getting out my money and we're standing in the checkout line and I'm on the front cover of a tabloid. And my roommate notices and says, "Oh my God, Elisabeth, that's you."
Oh my.
And I'm standing there going, I didn't give that interview. I didn't give permission for them to use my photo. Plus,
Really?
that's a terrible photo of me. Plus, all the facts are inaccurate. And I said to her, "Don't buy that." And she was like, "Oh, I have to. You're in it. I have to get this. How awesome is this?" And I was like, "No, this is my life."
Really?
And they got it wrong. And I'm really upset and hurt that you would want to buy this. And she was like, "Well, I'll buy it and you can sign it for me." And I just looked at her and I was like, no.
No, I mean, at that
Really?
point, you've got to feel, you know, exploited and violated at that point, right?
Yeah, it was really hard. And so that's the kind of stuff that, like, you know, it happens to me kind of on a regular basis and people don't really think about. Or people will just assume something about me. You know, I get asked really weird questions too, like, "Do you have a belly button?" Yes, I have a belly button. Everybody has a belly button.
You're not a freaking alien, for God's sakes.
And I
mean,
don't
they
have
gotta-
special powers, and I don't have X-ray vision. I wish I did.
Now, going back a little bit, you obviously did very well college going through and got to be an editor at the Boston Globe.
Yes.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, you know, there's that is a world-renowned publication, and obviously there's been a lot of huge things. The Cardinal Law thing was, you know, broken in a recent movie. Did you have anything to do with that, or is it after your time?
Funny story. That was my very first day at the
Was it
Globe. Was
really?
when Marty Barron, the editor, who kind of took the Spotlight team to the next level. He and I had the very first same start day.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, I learned from a really great group of journalists, and I loved it there.
We're watching Spotlight now, so don't wreck it for me. I'll figure it out. I kind of know what happens. But now, your experience at the Globe kind of ran into something that changed your life along the way. And it's something that affected a lot of us here, you know, local to the city of Boston and ultimately throughout the world as this unfolded. Tell us about your experience in terms of writing, editing, and what changed for you along the way.
Yeah, so you know, I was an editor and writer, and I covered a lot of different things. And so every year I covered the Boston Marathon. And I was the lucky person who always got stationed at the med tent. So like on days it was really hot, I got to go down there and say, "Oh, everybody, you know, there's so many cases of dehydration," or whatever. Or in the years it was really cold, "Oh, well, they're giving out blankets because X amount of people have hypothermia." Well, the year of the bombings, I kind of moved a little bit because I was live tweeting and Instagramming and taking photos of all the elites coming in. And my last tweet was, you know, unlike last year when it was so hot, you know, there's less wheelchairs being used this year. More people are coming in, you know, in good health and good form. And then boom, that was when the bombs went off. It was like I sent out that last tweet saying, you know, we don't need these wheelchairs this year. And all I can remember is, you know, this incredible vibration and noise, and I got knocked on my butt. And the first thing I could think was, where are my colleagues? Because those were the really, it was like, these people have been, I've worked at the Globe since I was 18. These people are my family. I got to go make sure that they're okay.
Of course.
And took a head count, kind of made sure that I could call my parents, my editor, and my family, and then just kept trying to do my job. And, I was that kid that, I took solace, especially growing up in this IVF, spotlight. I could always write as a way to kind of like get away and make sense of everything. Mm-hmm. And when the bombs went off, I couldn't write my way out of that. And it was like nothing. I could write 1,000,000 pages and it just didn't make sense. And I had just started running and I figured, okay, well, maybe I just need to run the race. Maybe if I can just go back and kind of almost erase the bad memory that I had, kind of standing on the finish line there.
Replace it with something.
Yes, replace it with something better, or at least change it, because it was like a movie. It was like a bad movie that just kept going on and repeating in my head over and over again. And I couldn't get away from it. And then when I, went back to the Globe after that day, I put together the photo gallery of like, the scenes of the aftermath. So like I had seen it in real time and then I was seeing it again. And, it was like, I got to do something. And I just kept thinking, this can't be all there is to my life. That, like I didn't die that day for a reason. So let's keep going. Let's move forward. Let's actually like move on with it.
So you've turned this now into something that you have, fortunately for us here in Leominster, we're graced with your presence here now in town, and we love having you and Alan, and all that you guys do is awesome because you bring such a positive attitude. And you have turned something that the world has identified as a huge, something that they could take as negative. I mean, there's so many people that were hurt, impacted by it. Very few have turned that into something so positive. You see the survivors and what they've done and the people that have lost limbs that have gone back and run that race. And you guys I put in the same category. Anybody that was there that day, anybody remembers where they were that day, it affected all of us. Of course, the ones that were there more so than ever. So you've taken that energy, you've taken that experience, and now you've turned it into something that helps others. So talk to us a little bit about that whole transgression and what's going on there.
Yeah, so when we moved out to Leominster, Alan and I had been part of this thing called November Project, which was like a free fitness movement in Boston. And I really liked their workouts, but I always felt like I didn't really fit there. Alan is a much more, and has always been much more fit than I am. He's taller, he's more fit, he's buff, and I'm kind of like the 5-foot, stump who like looks at a brownie and gains weight, right? And it's like really discouraging.
Have I told you my wife owns a bakery? I mean, it's difficult.
Exactly. So I always felt like I didn't quite fit in there. And I wanted to have something where I could feel like everybody was welcome. A lot of people say everybody's welcome somewhere, and then you feel like, oh my God, I'm never going to keep up with these people. And
what do they call that? Gym-timidation?
That's right. Yeah. Yes. It's totally a thing. It's real.
It really is. It really is.
And so we started this because we wanted to work out with each other, but we also wanted to do something that was using all the places that we have here, Barrett Park and Lonjo Middle School and Skyview and all these places that are kind of like little gems that nobody really, uses as much. And so we started this group because we just wanted people to show up, realize that they could do something for absolutely free. Nobody was going to judge them, and they could meet more people. One of the things that's hard living in the suburbs is like you have your house and you have work and you have the grocery store.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of all the places you go unless you like go out a lot.
Sure.
So this was another way to kind of have a social aspect.
That's not really expensive.
That's free.
Sure.
And we could meet people. And it was like, awesome. This is great. We have people running marathons in our neighborhood, which is like kind of crazy.
Cool. That is cool. So you've taken this concept now of getting fit. And it's just about showing up. I mean, it's more than fitness. It's patting each other on the back, giving each other high fives, a couple F-bombs, maybe along the way. I've heard those, but those are all positive, and it's to motivate the person behind you, because as you guys have so eloquently put it in other interviews, it's not necessarily about winning the race. It's more about, the obstacle course and helping that last guy over the wall. And that's a whole different aspect of fitness that people really haven't been exposed to yet. Never mind, being able to do it here in Leominster. So when do you guys meet? What do you guys do? How do you get involved, and where can they find you?
Yeah, so if you go on facebook.com/CentralMassFit, we're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, all in the same Central Mass Fit, one word. Our cover photo of our Facebook page actually has all the information you need to know. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5:59 a.m., various locations, and then 6:59 on Saturdays and Sundays. So keep your eyes peeled. We're at Alonjo Middle School, we're at Skyview, we're at Doyle, we're kind of all over the place, but it's all written there, and we never change the schedule unless we tell people. So you can always count on somebody will always be there, and that's what I think is also great. You can make sure that you know that you're not going to be alone.
Well, that's the cool thing, too. And when Alan first started this, we've talked off the air, absolutely nobody showed up the first time.
Yeah.
And then he did it again, and people started to show up. So, if you don't show up, nothing's going to happen.
That's right.
And it goes for the people that are instructing and teaching and welcoming people to the class. It also goes for you. You got to show up. You got to try it once, and it becomes contagious because it becomes a part of your life. If coffee can do it, I guess exercise and good fitness can too, right?
That's
and
right.
Positive people.
Yeah, we have kids, we have dogs. I feel like if we can get, maybe that turkey, the Leominster turkey out with us too, or whatever, that would be pretty cool.
You guys got to go out to West Street. There's a whole parade of them that could probably lead the way for you guys. But it's going to be a great time of year out there. You guys are going to do it 12 months out of the year,
You
even
got
in the
it.
dead of winter, huh?
Yep.
Very cool. Very well committed. That's
Excellent.
awesome. That's awesome. It has been a joy having you here, and we definitely want to welcome you back again. Come back and join us.
Thanks, Jeff.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll be right back with more right after this. Oh, yeah, when you hear that music, it can only mean one thing. It's that segment of the program when Shannon Sylvia asks, who does that? And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Shannon Sylvia.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us for the best segment of the entire show. I'm just saying, who does that with me?
It always has been.
Shannon Sylvia.
It's funny. I've always joked around with you. As long as after your career on the sci-fi stuff will be long over, I'd always known you'd be known as the Who Does That chick. And you have been.
There'll be T-shirts for sale someday.
You have been recognized worldwide now.
That's right.
It's fantastic.
My segment.
Okay.
This first story comes out of Calgary, Alberta, which, Jeff, is?
That is Canadian.
It is Canadian.
All right.
I got your Canadian story tonight. So this comes out of Calgary.
Just in case you're wondering. 2009. Okay.
I'm tired. Joint investigation between Canadian law enforcement and local prison found that methamphetamine-laced Christmas cards were being sent to inmates.
Oh, isn't that creative?
As you remember, Jeff, our last story was photographs being laced with drugs being sent to prisoners. Now it's greeting cards.
Oh, look at that.
I'm jealous. I want meth-laced greeting cards.
Yeah.
I get just cheap ones in the
What's
mail.
that, when you care enough to send the very best, is that? Hallmark's got nothing on these guys.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I guess so.
Alberta law enforcement response team released a statement saying that 2 people were suspected of mailing the cards, which contained traces of liquid meth to inmates at Medicine Hat Remand Center.
All right.
Cards were confiscated by staff before reaching any inmates, of course. So, haha.
Yeah.
And tested positive for meth. Alert. They were actually able to identify suspects Ryan Horb, 32 years old, and Justin Yolinski, 25 years old, who are charged with trafficking methamphetamine.
Wow.
So there's a great friends these prisoners have. They go through great lengths to get drugs in prison.
So, Shannon, you're going to have to do your own soundbite. Now, what is it that you say with all this crazy stuff?
Who does that?
Okay. All right.
Who does that? So a great deal of sophistication was employed in a case like this, and the investigative team was greatly credited for pursuing these drug dealers.
Oh, my.
Inmates have been able to extract the liquid meth from the cards, which featured children's cartoon characters such as SpongeBob SquarePants and the Grinch.
You're bringing SpongeBob
It's becoming
into
more
this.
and more of a problem.
That is a problem. Oh, man. All right.
How do they extract the meth out of the cards?
I don't know. You probably lick it. You probably take it like bladder acid. Not that I would know anything about that, but All right.
Jeez.
What else you got?
The last story comes out of Houston, which is Texas.
And that's not Canadian.
No.
Nope, not Canadian.
This story actually made regular news, guys, so not just our news, but a Texas school district is investigating after a 7-year-old girl successfully used a forged note with spelling errors to get out of an after-school program.
Oh, my. Look at that.
Yeah.
And that works. That works right there, folks.
That's the actual note, guys.
You know why that works, Shannon? I'll tell you why that works. It's the new math. If they can do that new math, that crazy shit math that they do.
Because there was a problem with the old math.
Anything like that's going to pass.
This is unbelievable. Charlie Dahu said he received a phone call Monday afternoon from a concerned neighbor who told him that his daughter, Rosabella, was waiting outside of her family's locked home when she was supposed to be attending an after-school program.
Okay.
In Houston, the neighbor, Rolando Lozano, said the girl had come to his house and asked his wife if she could use the bathroom because her door at the house was locked and no one was home. Oh, poor little thing wasn't equipped to handle that situation well. So she came to ask my wife to use the restroom. That's when I figured something was wrong. Rosabella waited with the Lozanos while Dahu hurried home. I was shaking. I was scared. I was just glad to see her in good health and that nothing happened to her, the father said. And then he whipped her ass.
Wow, I bet he did.
He discovered that she had forged a note from her parents saying that she was supposed to take the school bus home instead of attending the after-school program.
Yep.
The father said he was shocked.
And it's convincible. If you see that on the screen right now, ladies and gentlemen, that is just, I don't know how authorities could decipher one from the other when somebody does something. You know, you got counterfeit money. I mean, that is just
that
really,
is very convincible.
That's the part.
I don't know how
How in the world could they have deciphered? How did they get to the bottom of this, Shannon?
It was also in child handwriting, and it was able to fool the teachers. You can clearly see she didn't even spell the word bus right.
No, they were fooled all right.
She also used the wrong spelling of the word to in her note.
Yeah.
The note reads, I want Rosabella to go DUS 131 today to Ms. Rain. The Sheldon Independent School District says it's now investigating the incident. They did release a statement saying that Sheldon ISD is currently investigating the situation. We're reviewing our training procedures to ensure that our after-school grant program staff is properly trained in dismissal procedures as we move forward. How about trained at all?
Yeah. How about
trained at all?
Not to be fooled by something like this.
Unbelievable.
You know, let's get by this.
And they're, blah, 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 blah. As always, student safety is our top priority. I can see that.
Of course.
So the 7-year-old girl in Des Moines, Iowa, had less success with a forged note in January when she went in for a different tactic, trying to fool her parents with a fake note from the school.
Oh, boy.
The note signed Kara G sought to convince the girl's parents that the school had extended winter break for an extra week.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Wow. Nice.
The girl's parents were not duped and quickly noticed that she had written break, B-R-A-K-E, instead of break.
All righty.
Wow. So the girl's trying to convince her parents to extend it another week. So that is it, guys. Who does that?
Wow. Now, I got to ask you real quick because we got to wrap here, but have you ever been caught trying to forge a note of
I was caught forging my report card, and I got my butt kicked.
You little shit.
Back then, when the report cards are printed with dot matrix, I took a very, very fine-tipped pencil because back then we had those like leaded pencils. You could click them.
Yeah.
And I would just fill in the dots.
Oh.
So my D was a B. And my parents didn't find out until after when they had a parent-teacher conference, and the teacher kept saying, but I kept sending warning cards home. Warning cards, why are you questioning the mark?
What you did was kind of right down the middle there. Just
where a warning card, you know what it was? A warning card came.
The D was a B.
And my parents questioned the teacher, why is she getting a warning card when she was doing so well?
What would you have done if you got a C? Would you have lived with it?
I couldn't have forged a C.
All it could have been was a D. You couldn't have gone any further with that, right?
I did that once and once only, and I got grounded big time for that.
We're still lucky you're here. I'm glad Shannon's still here. I'm glad you guys joined us tonight on Up for Discussion Live. We will see you next time. Take care.
Up for Discussion Live is brought to you in part by Lemonster Storage Solutions, Sasquatch Coffee, Mariano's Restaurante.